you're worthy. You don't have to keep doing things in order to demonstrate your worth. I would say relax a little, have some fun. The joy is in the journey and not in the destination. There's no pot of gold waiting for you at the finish line. So enjoy the journey because I sort of didn't. And then I got to the finish line and I was like, is that all? This must be some trick or something.
Welcome back, everyone. I am super thrilled today to introduce you to somebody who is a super powerhouse, a powerhouse of intelligence, resilience, reinvention, and somebody who is actually kind of an interesting, near and dear to my heart in a certain way because she's not only Chinese and an anesthesiologist, which is exactly what my dad was. She is a self-made entrepreneur. She's a reality TV personality. She's a woman who's built life on her own terms. And you may know her from Real Housewives of Dallas, but beyond the cameras, she's a brilliant doctor, a businesswoman, an advocate for mental health, and financial independence. So I can't wait to introduce you to her. This is Dr. Tiffany Moon. And so welcome to this show, Dr. Tiffany Moon. I can't wait to talk about the joy prescriptions and how you have negotiated success on your own terms. So glad to have
Thank you for having me.
yeah. So, let's dive into your story. It's really incredible how you came from China and you've just really kind of taken life on your own terms. Let's start from the beginning. Like, tell us about how you got here and what your life has been.
I was born in China, and my parents came to America on a student visa, which I think was pretty common back in the 80s. And they left me with my grandparents. So from the age of 3 until I was 6, I didn't see my parents. This was before the age of the internet or anything. So I basically had no contact with them. Then when I was 6 years old, I got put on a plane by myself with the supervision of a really nice flight attendant. And I came to America, landed at JFK Airport. Back then, your family members could still be at the gate. Hopped off the plane, and there were my parents. I knew not a lick of English. I didn't know anything about America. I didn't know my parents. I got put into first grade. So I had to go to ESL, which is English as a second language, where I proceeded to learn half English and half Spanish, but I didn't know which words were which because I was just learning new words. So to say that my childhood was a little bit rough would probably be an understatement. We were poor. We moved around a lot. I think I
Were
went.
you in New York? Did you stay in New York at that point?
Yes, my dad ended up graduating and then we moved to Texas when I was like 10. And so I was like, oh my God, like where did all the Asian people go? Because we went
Yeah.
from New York City with like Queens, Flushing
Oh, yeah.
to Dallas. And I was like, oh my God, like talk about culture shock from like China to New York City and
Yeah.
then New York City to Dallas, like another culture shock. And
Yeah.
we just moved really frequently. I ended up going to 3 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 3 high schools.
Oh
So
my.
I know. And it was just, one time they would just be like, oh, we're moving next week. And I'd be like, okay, we're like in the middle of the school year, in the middle of a group project. Like they didn't care about any of that stuff. So I think what I lacked in my childhood was a lot of stability. And I think in some reflections that I've done personally and with the help of my therapist, I have noticed now that as an adult, I tend to want to have control and stability over like fun and spontaneity.
Mhm.
Because I think I had such a tumultuous childhood that
Yeah.
now the things that are near and dear to me is like keeping everything safe and knowing exactly what's going on and not having any surprise elements, which not surprisingly led me to a career in anesthesiology. I mean, I don't know if your dad was this way, but the stereotype is that we like to be in control.
Uh,
We're, here with our spreadsheets and everything planned out. Like, I mean, there is a certain personality type.
Sure. It makes perfect sense. I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, especially when you had so much chaos growing up. I mean, even for me, I like to have like a certain level of control in my life as well. And I think that's kind of why I became a lawyer too. It's like I want to know what's happening in my life, you know? And my dad also came over on a boat, like, from China, and he was 15. He went to New York and he didn't know any English either. And so, I think that that's what happens when you're an immigrant and you're trying to like make sense of a new world. And um, so, and I know for me, I'm only half. Um, there was a lot of I experienced a certain amount of racism as well. I don't know if you did, but I certainly did. And I was like bullied for being Asian. So like I was sort of felt like an outsider. So there was, certain, that was, uh, an element of what I had to struggle with as well. Um, so I think, how did that manifest for you in how you then went on to achieve in school and, how did that um, uh, drive you?
There's a funny story I have to tell you. My dad always gave me extra math worksheets besides the homework that was given to me because he thought that that was much too simple. I mean, even though I moved to the United States when I was 6 and I didn't know English, I was like 2 grades ahead in math. They were doing like basic arithmetic and I was like doing multiplication and division, right? So he would give me extra worksheets. But if I got a problem wrong, he would give me an extra sheet.
Well,
And so there was some segment like fractions or decimals. I don't know what it was. And I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning finishing my math homework, and my dad would not let me go to sleep.
mhm,
I tell this story because I think from a very young age, I learned what it was like to work hard and not give up and have to do things.
yeah.
And perhaps his strategy, the way there wasn't the best. It was, traumatic in many ways. But I think the resilience now that I have as an adult came from those early beginnings.
Mhm.
I think, at first, when we had so much adversity, and of course, I had my own racist comments, and I just saw my parents struggling and I saw people being racist to them, like adults. I thought it was just kids on the playground picking on me. But then we'd go to the supermarket or be out walking in the park or something, and someone would kind of like check my dad on the shoulder and say something. And I was like, oh, like I didn't realize adults could be bullies too. I think it gave me the drive to want to be perfect and achieve more so that no one could ever bully me again. I'm in a position of power or greatness or socioeconomic advantage. So like you can't bully me.
Mhm.
Um, but in many ways it makes me sympathetic to people who are still struggling because I was there not too long ago.
For sure. Have you ever met somebody, they started off to be the most charming, charismatic person you've ever met in your life. Then they turned out to be your worst nightmare. And then when you go to negotiate with them, they're a living hell. Well, I developed something called the Slave Method of Negotiating with Narcissists, and it has helped tens of thousands of people in more than 150 countries win, go from feeling drained and defeated to getting the outcomes they want. And the reason why it works is because I spent more than 20 years studying narcissism as a trial attorney, and now I'm here to help you win too, and also take your suffering and turn it into your superpower. Take your pain and turn it into profit, peace, and purpose as a highly specialized high conflict negotiation coach. If you want to learn how to do it, then just go to RebeccaZung.com/apply and I will show you how.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that's why I've always done what I've done is like advocate, and why I even advocate now, for people who are victims of narcissist or narcissistic abuse, and like why I'm in this position, because I'm like so like I have to advocate for people who've been on that side of bullies because of what I experienced in my life. For sure, I feel so uh, passionate about it myself. Um, but then, there was that side of me, I think, that felt like, oh, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna show you, like, is that there was that side of me, I think, because I think also certainly coming from both an Asian side and also a German side, it's like that hustling for your worthiness side of things too. It's like, because it's not just in the society side of things, I think it's also in an Asian family as well. Like, you're only worthy if you are succeeding, right? There's that kind of aspect of things as well.
No, I mean, that's exactly the mentality that I grew up with, which drove me in my mid 30s to feel like completely burned out and lacking joy. And
Right.
that's when I say I started my joy journey to figure out, like, who am I and what do I even like? Because up until then, I had just been living life according to the checklist that my parents had handed me, never really questioning it, until one day, like, it no longer worked for me.
Right. And I think when you have people in your life, toxic people, narcissistic people, there's this sort of like black hole, this void of like, if I'm just better, if I just do more, if I just can show them how perfect I am, they'll see how good I am. And then they'll know that I'm worthy. Then they'll see how good I am. And if you have this personality that works hard, that can be perfect, can be better, you'll just keep going, 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 right? And eventually you do end up burning out.
Yeah, yeah. I'm interested to ask you a question. Being that you've worked with so many narcissists before, like what is the telltale sign that you're dealing with a narcissist? Because I think sometimes people can have like narcissistic tendencies, right? And certain behaviors unmask themselves over time. But like, how do you truly tell if someone is a narcissist?
It's interesting because I just did this video on this, um and I would say one of the telltale signs is that no matter what you're doing, no matter what you say, they always find a way to put you in this feeling of always being on the defensive, no matter what you do. You just constantly feel like you're having to defend yourself, like you're having to prove yourself no matter what. That being said, but that, yeah, and you're never at ease when you're with
Hmm.
a person. You just never
Well,
feel at ease.
I may
Never
have grown
feel,
up with a narcissist then,
yeah,
just
you just never
they're never
feel at
pleased.
peace. You
Right.
never
Like
feel,
it's never enough. Like nothing I do is ever enough. Like
yeah,
I went to college when I was 15 and was like, you're not that special. Okay, so I graduated with honors from Cornell at the age of 19, did not take any time off to take a gap year, took the MCAT while I was taking a full course load. I mean, it's a lot for like a 18-year-old or 17-year-old. graduated from medical school at the top of my class, went to the best anesthesia program in the country. Like it's never enough.
Never enough.
When you're running the race though, you don't know that. You always think like, oh, if I just do this, then they'll proud of me, then they'll love me, then I'll be worthy.
Right.
And it's like the finish line moves, but you're kind of like, oh, okay, then let me reach that finish line.
Right.
And and then, I woke up one day when I was like 35 and was like, oh my God, like the problem is not me. The finish line is going to keep moving
Right.
until I say, I'm not running that race anymore. Like you can't
Exactly.
make me.
It's
And
never, it's always, you're always on the defensive. You're always feeling like, oh my God, you're just never at peace. And that's how you kind of always know.
yeah,
You're,
I don't think I was like defensive because that's not really like there was nothing to
they
defend.
always
I
make
just
you feel like there's a sense of,
felt worthless.
yes,
Yes.
there's somehow that they always twist it, that it's always you. That's the,
Right. Like I'm the problem. I'm not doing
yes,
enough. I'm not paying
yes,
back my respects
right.
enough. Yeah,
They
I
always
should do
somehow
my
find a way to,
filial duty as a daughter and be obedient and subservient and say
yes.
yes to everything, right? Like that.
That's really the telltale sign.
Yeah. Well, we may have we may have a recovering what do you call it? Recovering from a narcissistic behavior in the
Yeah.
past.
And
My
that's it. I mean, that's really, I would say the biggest telltale sign right there. And so when you realize that and you realize, wow, it's not you. And so, for me, I did a program called Mastering Transformational Training. Last year I did basic and advanced. It was like so healing for me to realize, wow, I am whole and I am complete and I'm so at ease with myself. It's just been such a joyful, like, you say joy in the journey and like having and knowing my true authentic self and my authentic power. It's been so healing for me. And to be able to look at people and just go, you know what, I'm good. I know my light and I know your light. And we're all in our own journey. And I'm so good to see people in their power and who they are, you know? And 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 not chasing, not that chasing, because when you chase, you never catch.
Yeah. And it's exhausting. I mean, I basically chased for the first half or so of my life. And then
Yeah.
I finally figured out like I'm not going to do it anymore. And that's when I took some time off to like figure out who I was, what brought me joy. The problem with chasing achievements your whole life is that you kind of don't know who you are.
No.
When you're defined by the sum total of your achievements and you stop achieving, you're like, well, who am I? How am I going to demonstrate my worthiness if I don't keep like winning awards and promotions and gold stars on the chart? And so it takes a lot of introspection to stop for a second and figure it all out. And that's where joy prescriptions came from. It's literally me like stopping and figuring out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life because I didn't want to live it the way I had lived the first half of my life.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Investing in your mental health can feel like a big decision, but your peace of mind is just as essential as your physical well-being. Life brings challenges from the anxiety of stress to navigating high conflict relationships, and you really shouldn't have to face them alone. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you could save up to 50% per session on average. For a flat weekly fee, you get consistent quality care right from wherever you are. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and over 5 million people that have been helped worldwide, BetterHelp makes it easy to find support that fits your life, and you can switch therapists anytime. Therapy isn't just for moments of crisis, it's for building boundaries, learning tools, and becoming the most empowered version of yourself. Your well-being is so worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate to get 10% off your first month. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate. That's BetterHelp, HELP. Immigrant.com/negotiate. So what was the defining moment that you started to realize?
I don't think there was like one single moment where, like, at that moment I realized. I think it was an amalgamation of feeling burned out from working clinically, having twin toddlers at home, and then the pandemic hit. And
Okay.
the world, as I knew, was over. I mean, I was going into the hospital, I was intubating patients who needed me because they were in respiratory distress. So I was wearing this huge hood thing. I was like sweating inside. It was so hot. I have terrible anxiety. So of course I'm like, worried that I'm going to catch it because I'm at the hospital, breathing it in, and I'm going to bring it home and get my husband sick or my children sick. I mean, this was like early 2020. And I really thought the world was coming to an end. And I thought, oh my God, if this is it, like, what have I done with my life? I just have a bunch of papers, a really impressive CV, some awards and degrees hanging on the study. But, like, what about laughter? What about joy? What about connection? I mean, I had good friends from college or, middle school even, and we just lost touch. Like, everyone just moved and got busy and had kids. And, it's not like we had a falling out or anything. It's just you just stop talking to each other over time because it's so hard. And I just, every day in my life, there was no laughter. I would, wake up at 5:30, eat some oatmeal, go to work, deal with trauma patients, cancer patients at work all day. It's not a fun job necessarily as an anesthesiologist because I'm doing like really serious surgeries and sometimes people are really, really sick. Then I would come home and like try to get on the floor and play with my toddlers and stuff, but I was just so exhausted. Like, all I wanted to do when I got home was to like take off my scrubs, take a shower, and just crawl into bed. And I wanted like no one to talk to me. I didn't want to do anything. I just felt so burned out, like I had nothing left to give. And I thought, how could it be that I've worked this hard to achieve all the things that on paper other people would look at and be like, wow, that's so impressive. But I feel like total shit. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah. So what did you do about it?
I went part-time at work. I became more intentional about the people that I spent time with. Some of your listeners may know me from Real Housewives. Let me go ahead and tell you that if you are trying to build a life of connection, joy, and laughter, that being a Real Housewife isn't it. It was toxic. It brought out the worst in me. Even now, like, sometimes a clip will surface on social media or someone will tag me in something, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even recognize that girl. Like, she was so mean and just so competitive. And, like, certain people bring out the worst in you. That I have a couple of friends, and I'm like, yes, please get a divorce because you guys are terrible when you're together. Um, I did a little bit of a friend audit, to be truthful. I had to break up with some friends that no longer seemed to be traveling in the direction that I wanted to go. I became more intentional with my time. And instead of saying yes to every volunteer assignment at work or, doing so many charity things, I really became more intentional with what I said yes to so that I had more time left at the end of the day for my family and for myself. So I wasn't bringing home like a shell of the person that I wanted to be to the people that I love most in this world.
Nice. So for somebody who's out there listening right now and they're like, I'm dealing with somebody who's really, really toxic in my life and I don't know how to get out of this, what would be the first thing that you would say to them?
I mean, depending on the relationship, you may just have a quiet exit. What is it called when you leave a party without saying goodbye? An Irish exit? I don't know what that means. I'm not Irish, obviously. But unless it's like a family member where you kind of have to see them or you're expected to see them, or it's like your sister-in-law, like you're gonna run into her, you may not need to have a huge announcement. You just quietly become less available and hope that they'll take the hint. Now, if they have like some personality disorder or they're a narcissist, they don't understand that kind of soft boundary, you might have to enforce a harder boundary. And you say something like, this season of my life, I am focusing on my business, my career, my children, my marriage, whatever. So I will be less available for girls' night out, drinking, whatever. Like, make it up as you go.
Mhm.
Um, but I really think that part of what has brought me joy in the last 5 years has been setting boundaries. Because I grew up in an Asian household, like I don't know what boundaries are. My parents didn't have any boundaries. My dad would get a call from his boss like in the middle of the night, and I would remember he would like turn on the light and get his computer out and like start working. I know this because I didn't have a bedroom until I was 10. My bedroom was the living room. So he was in like IT computer stuff. So like in the middle of the night, like the light would be on in the kitchen and I'd be like sleeping. And he'd leave their bedroom and be on the computer like working and stuff. And I just didn't see them have boundaries with their friends. Like if something happened, they would, bend over backwards to help people. And I'm not saying like don't be an altruistic person. I think sometimes when we talk about building and enforcing boundaries, it sounds like we're being mean or we're no longer going to help other people. That's not it at all. It's just that sometimes you say yes to things that in the pit of your heart you don't want to be saying yes to, but because you're a people pleaser or you don't want to upset someone, you say yes. And then later you're kicking yourself for it, you're dreading it, you're like cussing under your breath the whole time, you're like baking cookies for the bake show that I never wanted to bake cookies for. You know what I mean? And it's like, why do we torture ourselves? Why? It's really not necessary. And
Yeah.
I just feel like, if you're just more upfront with people and you're like, I don't have the bandwidth to take that on right now. Thank you for thinking of me. No, I do not want to participate in that bake sale. Like it's better because then you're just being like upfront with people and everyone knows instead of you agreeing to something you don't want to do and then being mad about it later, right?
If you're a renter, you have to hear this. We rack up points on groceries, travel, practically everything else. But rent, until recently, that was just money out the door, but not anymore. With Bill, paying rent finally pays off. There's no cost to join, and just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels, airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock two powerful benefits. First, you earn industry's most valuable points on rent every month, no matter where you live or who your landlord is. Your rent now works for you. Second, you gain access to your exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. Built's neighborhood benefits are things like extra points on dining out, complimentary post-workout shakes, free mats or towels at your favorite fitness studios, and unique workout experiences that only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to your favorite miles and hotel points around the world, meaning your rent can literally take you places. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, what are you waiting for? Start paying rent through Built and take advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/negotiate. That's joinbilt.com/negotiate. Make sure to use our URL so that they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/negotiate to sign up for Built today. You have been in a lot of high pressure situations, and I think especially with your job, your career, your family, a lot of things, for people who have been in or who are in high pressure situations, how would you recommend to them to stay grounded and also deal with that stress? What would you say to them?
When I'm at the hospital and something is happening, it sometimes is life and death. But for my business, like when I'm, booking sponsors and speakers for my summit or something's going on with my candle company, I always have to remind myself, like, hey, it's not life or death. Like a sponsor pulled out last minute. It's really inconvenient. I wish they hadn't have done that. But like nobody's life is on the line. So I think kind of like zooming out for a second is really helpful because sometimes when you're so zoomed in to what you're doing, I mean, we can all be a little bit self-serving, right? Like every problem we have seems like the biggest problem ever until we zoom out and realize that it's not. My children are in here. Mommy's on a Zoom. Go outside, take the dogs. This is what happens when you try to work from home. The children like come right up to you as you're working. Get out. Okay, just leave.
Yeah, well, you know what? This is real life.
This is real life. I literally told them like mommy has a Zoom, mommy has to, and they're in the kitchen supposed to be having a snack and doing their homework. But, I mean, you have three kids, right?
I
How
have
old are
four.
your
I have four.
and four?
Yeah.
How old are they?
Mine are grown now though. So yeah, but I've been there. So I've been exactly where you are.
It's the plight of the working mom, you
Yeah,
know?
you know what? This is what moms do. We do what we have to do. I've been a mom. I've been in court. I've breastfed. Like I've done I had to like pump my breast in the courthouse like over lunch, like in the middle of
Yep. Yep. I remember pumping in the operating room because
so
I had an
like
unstable patient. And I literally went to the bathroom, hooked up my portable breast pump, and then went back to the operating room. And it has a battery, And then the surgeon's like, "What is that sound?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's the ventilator. Don't worry about that."
I literally was
Meanwhile,
doing it, in the middle of, trial over like
now
bathroom.
I'm like, somebody needs to make a more quiet breast
Only
pump because that
moms
thing
do
is
this stuff.
loud. It's
Like,
like rear, 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 rear. I was like, oh my God. Like I was like, one day when I have some spare time, I'm gonna figure out how to create like a really quiet breast pump, like no sound.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
haven't gotten to it yet.
yeah, so yeah. Um, so yeah. Hold on one second. Um, so yeah. Um, if you could go back and give your younger self, now that you've been through all of this, advice about your self-worth and power and negotiating all of this stuff, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh gosh, I would say you're worthy. You don't have to keep doing things in order to demonstrate your worth. I would say relax a little, have some fun. The joy is in the journey and not in the destination. There's no pot of gold waiting for you at the finish line. So enjoy the journey because I sort of didn't. And then I got to the finish line and I was like, is that all? Like, this must be some trick or something.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I mean, I would definitely tell my younger self that too. I mean, I've spent so many years like trying to get like just so worried about so many things that I did not need to be worrying about, you know,
Yep.
um, and wasting time.
Wasting times on things that didn't really matter and not spending time on things that did matter,
Oh,
but we all have regrets. I wouldn't say it's a big one, but I wish I had studied a little less and gone out a little bit more. Like I didn't have those crazy college nights or whatever. I was always studying. I had to graduate early and take the MCAT and graduate with honors and get into medical school. Like it was just I just wish I had slowed down a little bit and taken the more scenic route instead of like beeline to the finish line, no looking around.
enjoying people and moments and all of that a little bit more. It's
Yeah.
like worrying about all of the stuff that I didn't need to worry about as much. So this has been such an incredible conversation. What would you want anybody to hear today that I haven't asked you? Like what haven't I asked you that you would want people to know?
I just want people to know that the joy is in the journey, and you are worthy, and you don't have to keep achieving in order to feel worthy. And I think if someone like tells you that and you truly believe it, you relax a little bit and you act differently because you're not in this rat race. And when you slow down a little bit, I think that gives you the space and the time and the bandwidth to have these deep, meaningful connections with the people around you. And that's truly what life is about. Like I see people terminally ill on their deathbed and they're never ever talking about like missing an assignment or not going to that speaking engagement. They're always upset about a relationship that they didn't mend or that they didn't tell their loved ones that they loved them and that they were proud of them. It's always like that. So just think about that as you move about through your day. It's generally not things that you regret that you'll focus on. It's mending the relationships and being close to the people in your life.
Mhm. For sure. You have a new book coming. Tell us about that and where people can get it.
Yeah, the book is called Joy Prescriptions, and I am telling people that it is part memoir, part personal development because it is the story of my life. But at the end of each chapter, I actually offer the reader a joy prescription that I wrote for them to have more connection, laughter, and joy in their life. So in collection, it's a bunch of joy prescriptions that I'm sharing with the reader. And I do hope that people read it and that they realize what the important things are in life and to focus more on those things rather than achievement and competition.
I love the name. And where can they get it?
They can get it anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. We also have it online directly through my website, joyprescriptions.com, and you can get a free PDF 30 days of joy journal that I wrote for you.
Love that. So definitely go check it out. And where can they find you? Where can they follow
They
you?
can find me on my website at Tiffany Moon MD, across all the social media platforms at Tiffany Moon MD, and maybe coming to a TV screen near you sometime in the future. We'll see.
Awesome. Love that. So go check it out. Go get her book. Thank you so much, Dr. Tiffany Moon. You're just a joy and it's such a pleasure. And definitely go check her out, go follow her and get her new book. So it's just been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you so much.